Hi guys, it's Ernest from Proximal Consciousness. How you guys doing today? I got another interesting subject for you. Conservatism. Now, some of you may be a little confused about conservatism because with politics nowadays and the big debates going on between the conservatives and the liberals, a lot of people only understand the term conservatism as relating to politics. But in reality, conservatism means a lot more than just the conservatism that we hear about in terms of politics and the debates between the conservatives and the liberals, the Democrats and the Republicans, so to speak. Conservatism is a way of thinking, a way of feeling, a way of doing. It's a way of life. Being a conservative is derived from some notion that there is an existing standard in life. Some people say that standard comes from religion. Some people say that standard comes from science. Some people say it just comes from living in a community, living on the planet. But without argument, there must exist some standard whereby both conservative and the term liberals use as a basis of deviation from, or degree of deviation from. Okay, so today we're just going to cover conservatism. Why is conservatism important to so many people? The terminology, right? Conservatives generally feel that it's important to care about what you do and how you do it in this world, right? And because they're concerned about the future, they're concerned about the present, they're concerned about the future, they're concerned about the next generation, they're concerned about how things evolve down the line. They're concerned about the amount of resources that it takes to get towards some defined future. They're concerned about who is in control of those resources and who is attempting to communicate what it all means for tomorrow. Where there are other groups that are less concerned about that. I mean, they understand that there is some standard. They're not in agreement as to what that standard is based upon. Some don't even care. Some have even gone as far as to say there is no standard whatsoever. But conservatives believe there's a standard. And they're very much concerned about following that standard and using that standard to develop every aspect of a society, of a country, of a world, of a family, of a community. People believe in conservatism because they are not willing to gamble about their future, about their ability to afford the future. Whereas there are some people who feel that, we can work anything out. If something goes wrong, if we put the wrong person there, we develop the wrong product, we utilize the wrong thought or the wrong approach for something, they feel that, well, we're human, we're in control of our own destinies, we can make changes, we can fix it. But in truth, that's not always the case. History has shown that there are behaviors, there are things that we can think and feel, there are and do subsequently that leads us down pathways, individuals down pathways, let alone the whole country, the whole world, that can't easily be fixed. I mean, there may be decisions about raising a human being, having babies, when having babies, how you raise those babies into adulthood, having a child is not something that can be reversed. Once it's done, it's done. You can't abort it. You can't throw it away. I mean, the responsibility of, let's say, having sex at a young age and subsequently getting pregnant and then having a child is a very big deal. Conservatives, on the other hand, feel that taking upon yourself the act that would lead to childbirth is something that should be done following a great deal of planning, a serious dialogue, a serious approach. So, and there are issues of financing. Some people are very free with how they use their money, how they use the government's money. I mean, you're dealing with inflations, you're dealing with higher prices as a result, because the more people spend, the more things cost in some cases, because resources are limited. High prices, and you may be able to deal with pricing and costs in the future, but what's the penalties in the now? There are many people who get destroyed because they just didn't do a good budget. It wasn't sound. They went down a financial direction that they couldn't recover from. They end up in bankruptcies. They waste a great deal of money, a great deal of time, and there are the people who put forward the money to back them sometimes never recover from it. I mean, countries can be devastated with high inflation and unemployment and distraction as a result of it. And then there's the issue of sexuality. I mean, some people who are less conservative believe that a man and a woman should be allowed to do anything with their reproductive organs, with their lives. I mean, you got women that choose women, you got men that choose men. And increasingly, these situations are carried out in front of young children who are really not able to make decisions like that, carried out in front of the whole world. I mean, these kind of actions can lead to reactions that are not easily reversible. I mean, especially if you're one that feels that the behavior that we carry out is indicative and very important, in that it develops thought patterns that shape our future. Not easily reversed if we get it wrong. So when it comes to conservatism, when it comes to people who choose to be conservative, they're saying that it's important to control the magnitude and direction of our behavior, of our thoughts, of our choices, because not everything is safe. Not everything is sound. Not everything that we do is classified as responsible. And conservatives want to be responsible. Right? They don't want to spend resources that they can't account for, that will cause undue harm on society. They don't want to encourage behaviors that, in their opinion, are not as logical and rational as they should be, such as lesbians, gays, that sort of thing, such as premarital sex. Conservatives generally want to travel the straight and narrow. It's not about greed. It's not about not sharing, right? It's not always about religion. Sometimes it's just merely about cost. I mean, conservatives attempt to be very logical and rational about their approach. I mean, when you're looking at gays and lesbians, how do they reproduce? How can a society, a world be created if people choose that course? It doesn't seem logical, right? A man and two men cannot create a baby. Two women cannot create a baby. And yes, you got the issue of science and a lab and this, that, and the other. But isn't that really saying the same thing? You cannot create a baby without the inputs of a man and a woman in general. So conservatives are basically looking at it from a logical standpoint. They're looking at it from a prolonged standpoint, as if human beings have limitations and that we should not be so frivolous in our approaches to things, because sometimes things are not recoverable. Sometimes the damage along that course is so great that it's just not worth it. Whereas there's some people who don't worry about it. There's some people who just go with the flow and they say it'll all work out. Now, they're not too wrong though, right? If there's one thing that I've learned in listening to their arguments and having my own opinions, is that when you're looking at conservatism and liberalism, they have some standard. I mean, the terminologies are utilized in a way that says that there is a standard that exists somewhere that these people feel that, one, the conservatives want to stick closely to, and the other, the liberals, feel that they can deviate from. But it's the same standard. And when you look at the issues, I don't think any woman just wants to have an abortion. I don't think any person wants to do that. So there is a standard somewhere. I mean, and I think that as time goes forward, people will realize that it's important that those kind of things are done less and less and less. The liberals feel and have to operate that way, because there is no person that goes out into the world that says, I just want to waste money. I just want to develop products that are useless or meaningless. I mean, I just want to get pregnant to have an abortion. No one thinks that way or feels that way in general. I mean, rarely would you ever come across someone who's like that. So there is a standard, and there is a convergence on such a thing. Whether it's smoking, whether it's casual sex, whether it's premarital sex, whether it's lesbian or gays, people are somewhat logical over time. And I think that the conservatives, they worry a great deal about deviation from standard, even though I think they shouldn't worry as much. Because, like I said, there is a convergence. The more information we have, the more we understand the byproducts of behavior, the more people will curtail those behaviors that are not beneficial, that are actually very self-destructive or destructive to others or wasteful. Now, that may mean there may be a lot of carnage up until then, but in general, things are headed towards some convergence down the line, where you might not, at some future day, be able to tell the difference between a conservative and a liberal in terms of how people truly live. I'm not saying that the arguments will go away, whether it's political or otherwise, but in general, people will be living more consistently, or they will be definitely protecting themselves from the ramifications of their behavior. So the issue of conservatism is very important, not just on a political side, but from an everyday living standpoint. It's important for people to have some sense of what cost in the present and in the future their behavior will require from them. I mean, people in generally, they don't want to just throw their lives away. They don't want to throw their children's lives away. They don't want to throw society's lives away. They don't want to be that negative thing in general. So my thought today was on basically the importance of conservatives, the importance of really understanding why conservatives are the way they are, and understanding what the debate is all about, and how it goes deeper than just politics. How people should look into the personal lives of people, and they'll see that most people are, in a sense, somewhat conservative in their behavior. I mean, you have a few who make mistakes, who still need to master the issue of emotions and feelings and those sort of things that cause them to deviate from some sound behavior. But in general, the standard, whatever that standard is that seems to exist, that everyone talks about deviation from, does exist. It's not talked about as much, but it does exist, and people are gravitating to it, whether they know it or not. Right? So that's my thought today, you guys. I hope you're liking my channel. I hope you're subscribing to it, and I look forward to talking with you about other subjects in the future. So bye now.